You have no idea how many have made sacrifices so you could live.
If they kill you, we are all gonna die.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Puffin Movie Review. Grab your lighter, spark up whatever you are smoking on today, and let's get our minds right. If you are chilling in the circle with us, do me a massive favor. Tap that subscribe button and hit the like button. We are pushing hard to hit that 1,000 subscriber milestone, and every single one of you joining the channel helps us grow the community.
7, 5. I'm number 4.
Today, we are opening up a major folder of early 2010 cinematic history. We are breaking down the behind-the-scenes origins of the 2011 sci-fi action flick, I Am Number 4. Man, back in 2011, Hollywood was completely obsessed with finding the next massive teenage phenomenon. If a book had a teenager with superpowers or a moody look, executives were throwing piles of cash at it. Let's look at how this crazy project got put together before the cameras even started rolling. This whole trip starts back in June of 2009. The book hadn't even been published yet, but the manuscript was floating around Hollywood. Michael Bay, the king of explosions himself, read the pages, completely fell in love with the concept, and ran straight over to Stacy Snyder and Steven Spielberg at DreamWorks. Suddenly, an absolute corporate dogfight broke out. The contenders DreamWorks versus J.J. Abrams. The goal: win the exclusive film rights to the unpublished manuscript. The outcome: DreamWorks wins the rights in June 2009. DreamWorks bought the property with one clear, greedy goal in mind. They wanted to hook the massive teenage audience that was currently losing their minds over the Twilight Saga. The book publisher was so incredibly confident that they already had at least 6 more installments completely planned out, and the studio figured they were sitting on a certified golden franchise. Once DreamWorks had the rights, they needed a script that screamed teenage drama. In August of 2009, they hired Al Gough and Miles Miller, the literal creators of the television series Smallville, to handle the screenplay. To add a little extra flavor, they also brought in Marty Noxon, a legendary writer and producer from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. When you look at that lineup, it makes complete sense. They literally hired the ultimate team of writers who spent the entire late 90s and 2000s making teenagers with powers look cool on TV. Originally, the plan was for Michael Bay to produce and potentially direct it himself, but Bay decided he needed to go blow up more giant robots instead, and left to direct the 3rd Transformers movie. So, early in 2010, Steven Spielberg personally tapped director DJ Caruso to take over the ship. Caruso had already made Disturbia and Eagle Eye for DreamWorks, so they knew he could deliver a clean thriller. But there was a massive catch. The posted no deadline because the studio had already locked in a worldwide release date for President's Day weekend. Caruso was handed an incredibly stressful timeline. He had less than a year to completely prepare, shoot, and edit a massive effects-heavy studio film. To make things even heavier behind the curtain, this was the very first DreamWorks film to be released under Disney's Touchstone Pictures label, and it was their first major release after the studio went through a massive financial restructuring in 2008. There was a ridiculous amount of corporate pressure on this thing to perform. Now, let's talk about the people they put in front of the camera, because the casting process went through some serious shifts. By March of 2010, they locked in a 21-year-old British actor named Alex Pettyfer to play the title character, Number 4. But the role of his alien guardian and mentor, Henri, was an absolute mess to cast. Originally, they hired Sharlto Copley, the main guy from District 9, to play Henri, but right as things were gearing up, Copley had to abruptly drop out because he was stuck doing massive press obligations for the 18 movie. The studio had to scramble, and they ended up replacing him with Timothy Oliphant, who brought that perfect, intense dad energy to the role. For the main villain, they secured Kevin Durand to play the Mogadorian commander, leading the alien hunt on Earth. Then, the studio went through multiple exhausting rounds of screen tests to find the perfect female romantic lead. They ended up pulling Diana Agron straight off the set of the hit television show Glee to play Sarah Hart. To round out the high school drama, Jake Abel was cast as the arrogant football player ex-boyfriend, Mark James, while a 16-year-old Australian actor named Callan McAuliffe scored the role of Sam, Number 4's nerdy best friend. And finally, Teresa Palmer was brought in to play the absolute badass of the group, Number 6. Alright, so the casting musical chairs is wrapped up, the studio has their team, and now they actually have to go out and shoot this alien teenager epic. If you're completely elevated right now, the sheer amount of moving parts in this production is going to make your mind wander. They cram 20 different locations into a tight 12 to 13 week schedule, running around the map to get this piece of cinema in the can. Let's light another one and check out the actual physical production and the massive marketing wave that followed. Principal photography officially kicked off on May 17, 2010. Now, you'd think a movie about an alien hiding out in Ohio would actually film in Ohio, but DreamWorks looked at the map, looked at their wallets, and headed straight to the Pittsburgh metropolitan area instead. The biggest reason? The state of Pennsylvania was handing out some incredibly lucrative tax incentives through their film production tax credit. Plus, the studio had a super smooth experience shooting She's Out of My League in Pittsburgh a couple of years prior, so they knew the terrain. To capture the mood, they brought in the legendary cinematographer Guillermo Navarro. He decided to shoot the whole thing on old-school 35mm film using a specific format called Super 1 hours, 85 minutes, which gives the visuals a crisp, grounded feel. They started hitting spots all over the area: Beaver, the old Conley Inn in Homewood, and the scenic Buttermilk Falls. They even set up interior and exterior sets near a boat launch in Monaca, and shot a whole spring fair sequence inside Deer Lakes Park in West Deer. When it came time to establish the fictional town of Paradise, Ohio, the crew landed in Vandergrift, Pennsylvania, spending June and July of 2010 completely taking over the area. The producers fell in love with Vandergrift and labeled it their hero town because it has this incredibly unique historic look with beautiful curved streets. There is a reason those roads feel so scenic and distinct when you watch the movie. They were originally laid out by Frederick Law Olmsted, the absolute genius landscape architect who designed New York City's Central Park. Finding the right high school for a movie like this is a massive chore. The crew looked at over 50 different schools in the area before finally choosing Franklin Regional High School in Murraysville. It had everything they needed for the plot. It was surrounded by rolling hills. It sat right next to a dense patch of woods, and it featured a wide single-floor layout with massive hallways and a football stadium right out front. They even got local teachers and recent graduates to show up on camera as extras. But you can't just blow up a real high school for a sci-fi action finale without getting into some serious trouble. So the production crew built a massive, identical replica of the school inside a studio block in Monroeville, specifically to handle all the heavy pyro and explosion scenes. In the final weeks of production, they shifted gears to shoot at the historic 200-year-old St. John's Lutheran Stone Church in Lancaster Township. They also needed a completely different vibe for the very opening of the movie, so the crew packed up and flew down to Big Pine Key, Florida. When you see that beautiful spanning shot of a car driving across an endless bridge surrounded by bright blue ocean, you are looking at the famous 7 Mile Bridge. Just looking at that water while relaxed makes you want to pack a bag and head south immediately. By late September of 2010, the first teaser trailer dropped, followed by a full-length trailer in December. Disney was handling the rollout, and they went full force targeting the younger demographic. They started running massive print ads inside 17 and teen Vogue magazines, launched an official promotional iPhone app in January of 2011, and built an absolute mountain of internet content to get teens talking online. They even partnered up with Hot Topic for an official cast tour, sending the young actors out to mall appearances across the country to sign autographs and build up grassroots hype right before the release. The grand premiere took place at the Village Theater in Los Angeles on February 9, 2011, before hitting theaters and IMAX screens nationwide on February 18, 2011, aiming to pull in residual Valentine's Day weekend business. The movie pulled in a healthy amount of cash, but the real financial tailwinds came later when Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment dropped the movie on Blu-ray, DVD, and digital download on May 24, 2011. They released it in 3 distinct physical packages, including a deluxe 3-disc combo pack that came with a standalone digital copy disc, so you could upload it straight to iTunes or Windows Media Player. The home video sales figures show that fans were definitely collecting this one at home. Blu-ray units first 3 weeks units sold US $316,081, revenue generated $7,693,808, standard DVD copies through October 2011. Units sold $767,692, $12, $571, $326. All of those physical releases came packed with a dedicated blooper reel and a becoming number 6 featurette, while the Blu-ray versions added 6 completely deleted scenes introduced by the director. When you combine all those domestic disc sales with a worldwide theatrical run, the entire project brought its total gross to a massive $166,247,931. Man, building an entire fake high school just to blow it up, driving across the Florida Keys, and securing millions of dollars in physical disc sales from Hot Topic fans. The early 2010 studio system was an absolute machine. Man, looking at how this whole grand sci-fi experiment wrapped up, it is the ultimate example of Hollywood putting the cart way before the horse. When you are sitting here completely relaxed, looking at the pure gap between what the studio executives planned and what actually happened on the ground, it's a total trip. They literally carved up their first script to force a 6-movie franchise, and then the real world completely pulled the emergency brake. Let's slide into the final chapter of the I Am Number 4 saga, the box office reality check, the critical thrashing, and the bizarre limbo this franchise is still sitting in. When the theatrical run finally wrapped up, the numbers weren't an absolute catastrophe, but they certainly weren't the Twilight-level goldmine the studio was praying for. Market location: North American box office, theatrical gross revenue $55,100,437, then overseas box office $94,778,000, so total worldwide box office $149,878,437. The movie opened at number 2 in the United States and Canada, pulling in a decent $19.4 million over its first weekend. But by week 2, the hype completely cooled off, dropping 43.4% and pulling in just $11 million. The only international market that really showed up to save face was China. It started slow in third place with $3.4 million, but bizarrely skyrocketed by 91% in its second week, actually topping the Chinese box office with $6.4 million. By the end of March 2011, China alone accounted for over $17.3 million of that international stash. It even topped the worldwide box office on its second weekend with a cool $28 million, but the domestic momentum was already completely dead. If the box office numbers were lukewarm, the critical response was an absolute freezing bucket of ice water. The review aggregators completely tore the film apart. Rotten Tomatoes a dismal 32% approval rating based on 166 reviews, with an average score of 4.7 out of 10. Metacritic squeaked out a 36 out of 100, which firmly signals generally unfavorable reviews across the board. CinemaScore once again, regular audiences who just wanted a fun high school popcorn flick were way nicer, handing it a decent B+. The official Rotten Tomatoes consensus did not hold back at all. It basically called the movie a complete corporate calculation. The aggregator verdict: it's positioned as the start of a franchise, but I Am Number 4's familiar plot and unconvincing performances add up to one noisy, derivative, and ultimately forgettable sci-fi thriller. Not everyone was completely miserable though. Empire magazine handed it a surprisingly generous 3 out of 5 stars, offering a little bit of silver lining praise. They wrote that if you can actually make it through the bland romantic schmaltz of the first half, you are rewarded with a spectacular blast of sustained action and the genuine promise of even better things to come, concluding that it really could have been the start of something great. Because the movie didn't instantly set the world on fire, the grand dream of adapting all 6 books completely shattered. By later in 2011, screenwriter Marty Noxon went on Collider and officially broke the news to fans that all plans for an imminent sequel were completely shelved due to the disappointing box office performance. A couple of years later, in 2013, director DJ Caruso admitted there was still a bit of behind-the-scenes talk about adapting the second book, The Power of Six, mostly because his Twitter inbox was constantly flooded with fans from all over the world asking where the next movie was. DreamWorks was getting those messages too, but nothing ever came of it. Then, on the 10th anniversary of the movie back in 2021, the lead actor himself, Alex Pettyfer, finally pulled back the curtain on why everything completely died. He explained that DreamWorks had actually scrapped their entire development slate at the time for major funding reasons, hinting that their big-budget blockbusters during that exact era had collectively underperformed, leaving no cash left over to gamble on a sequel. But because Hollywood hates letting a known intellectual property completely rest in peace, this story actually got a weird twist. A couple of years back, in April of 2024, the book's author, James Frey, dropped a bit of a bomb in an interview with the Sci-Fi Fantasy Gazette. He officially confirmed that legendary producer Neil H. Moritz, the guy behind the massive Fast and Furious franchise, was actively producing a brand new adaptation of the series. Even wilder, the original screenwriters, Al Gough and Miles Miller, were apparently attached to come back and rewrite the script. Frey did add a major asterisk though, noting that he honestly had no idea if the project would actually make it past the development stage or get completely lost in the shuffle. And seeing how it is officially 2026 right now, and we still haven't seen a single trailer or casting announcement, it looks like that Reboot might be trapped in the exact same development hell as the original sequel. Man, slicing up your first movie to set up 5 sequels that never happen, getting saved by the Chinese box office, and then trying to reboot the whole thing 13 years later with the exact same writers. You truly cannot make this stuff up.
They're here.
Where is the boy?
Man, it is truly crazy to look back at that entire 2011 era of Hollywood. They were so busy trying to manufacture the next billion-dollar teenage franchise that they completely forgot to make a movie that could stand on its own 2 feet. And here we are, in 2026, still wondering if that Neil Moritz Reboot is ever going to actually see the light of day, or if it's just destined to become another ghost story in development hell. But I want to hear from the circle on this one. Did you guys actually want to see The Power of Six get made? Did you think Teresa Palmer's Number 6 deserved her own spin-off movie? Or was the whole thing just too generic to save? Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments below. If you had a good time rolling up, relaxing, and diving into some chaotic sci-fi history with me today, please do me a massive favor and hit that like button. And if you haven't joined the crew yet, go ahead and hit subscribe. We are pushing incredibly hard to reach that 1,000 subscriber milestone, and every single one of you clicking that button helps this community grow more than you know. Thank you so much for hanging out, packing a bowl, and talking cinema with me today. Stay safe, keep it completely chill, and I will catch you right here for the next breakdown.